Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. It's Friday night on the bus, and you know the drill by now. You know what that must mean. It's time for that Friday feeling. It's time to turn our attention back to domestic action. We've been so distracted in the last week with European football. It's been an eventful week, but yes, back to domestic action now. And as I said last week, no more international breaks. It's going to be just Celtic all the way right through to March. And yes, tomorrow we will be playing Ross County at Celtic Park, so we'll be looking ahead to that as well. Just a wee look back at the events through the week as well, and obviously talk about that. And there's a rather big game coming up as well next midweek against Aberdeen at Pittodrie, so we'll maybe touch a wee bit on that too, and a few other stories doing the rounds as well today. And as you can see, it is Friday night on the bus, so of course Phil has to be joined by his comrade on a Friday evening, the bus heritage. It is the wise man of the bus, of course. It is Canada's favourite Tim, and it is, of course, Liam, Punk Duck Warlord Greenlaw. How you doing, my man?
Doing great, Phil. Doing good. Another rainy day in Vancouver, so nothing better to sit in and talk football. Some week, by the way,
Aye, certainly.
I'm still, first of all, how great it is for have a midweek game. So with a lot of tourists in, I always say that it's brilliant you get a midweek European game in Vancouver because you meet a lot of cool people visiting and people coming here to work and that sort of thing. And we've all got different stories and from all over the world, but they all support Celtic. Nice to see a bunch of Canadian guys as well. There was a table full of Canadian guys with the hoops on. And they're like, oh, why are you supporting Celtic? And they said, oh, like we all play on a team and that, but, like Alistair Johnson and that. And so nice to see that you're getting that sort of reach now coming over to Canada where boys that had no real attachment to the team, like parents or grannies and all that, have found a way to, they've decided they're going to start supporting Celtic and that's their team because of Alistair Johnson. So,
aye, exactly. No, it's good to see he's having that appeal and he's bringing in that fan because Celtic have always had a really good, reach worldwide. So it's good to see we're tapping into that market. And we'll be talking a bit about Alistair Johnson tonight because he's long listed, as you said, Liam, before we come on. I said short listed, and you went, no, he's long listed, but yeah, he is up for a FIFA award at the whatever event, whatever ceremony they've got coming up. Apparently, he's on the long list for the best defender. We'll be reading out some of the names that he's up against. As much as I love Alistair Johnson, I don't think he's got much of a chance of winning this, but fair play. We'll talk about it in a wee while as well. So, of course, before we go any further, folks, remember what to do is to do all that good stuff. Helps the channel out massively. So hit the old like button. Helps out an old algorithm. CSC gets the bus recommended to more people on YouTube who like Celtic podcasts, and the Boise bus might just pop up in their recommended videos. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. That would help us out massively as well. We're trying to get to 5,000. That's the next milestone. I think last time I saw it was like 4,890, so we're not too far off now. So hopefully we can get a wee surge towards 5,000 for the end of the year. What else can you do? You can, of course, get involved in our comment section. Now, let's have a roll call and see who's in tonight. Henrik McLarson is in, not to be confused with the King of Kings, who was in town this week for his special night at the Hydro or the Armadillo or one of these buildings anyway. Jim Dolan is in. Scott Howe is in. John Ford, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's in. Who else in? Chris D, Michelle Reed, Smell the Glove, Ian McIntosh. And Teresa Lytle's in as well. So yeah, as I always say it's all killer, no filler on a Friday night. All the classics are in tonight, all the hits are here. And of course, what else can you do? You can spread the word of the Boise Bus on whatever social media platform tickles your fancy, whatever one still works and still isn't descended into a right-wing cesspit yet, like many of them are already doing. So you can share the link on Twitter, whatever that tickles your fancy. And you can head over to piesports.com. And you can use that code BUS 1888 and you'll get 12.5% off of your order. And with that said and done, then let's get into this one then, Liam. So obviously there's been a PMP since the game on Wednesday. There was a TNF last night as well. You and I haven't had our say on it. I was obviously in the stadium for the game. You watched it, saying at the club in Vancouver with some newly minted Canadian Celtic fans as well and whatnot. So we'll have a wee chat on that because obviously it's still fresh in the mind. And overall, I think the first thing we need to say is, and I think this is becoming the sort of shared sort of opinion by many fans, because initially there might have been a bit of disappointment, but with the way the game played out, and I said it in the stadium at half time to the guys around us, I said, see the way this game's going, I'll take a draw right now. And in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the way the table's panning out right now, and still is very much on target with who we've still got to play, given one of the opponents is young boys of Bern, who have been one of the worst teams, so they're still to come to Celtic Park. It's a strong position to be in. Obviously, the performance wasn't perfect after the Leipzig game. I think that's been my biggest disappointment from the reaction I've seen, is there has been a contingent, and I will stress, a minority of Celtic fans who are now trying to say, I think they're just looking for negatives, that, oh, the Leipzig game, it was a false dawn, we got ahead of ourselves, they're not as good a team as we thought. Here's the reality for Leipzig, right? They are third in the Bundesliga, right? They're still up near the top, so they're still near the top of a very, very, very strong European, division in the German Bundesliga. Their opponents so far, and it's just the luck of the draw. Our luck has been a lot better than theirs, but so far they have played Liverpool, who have won 5 games out of 5 in the Champions League and are currently top of the English Premier League. They played Inter Milan, who in 5 games have not conceded a goal yet in the Champions League and are the champions of Italy. They've played Juventus, and they've played Atletico Madrid, and they've played us. So there's a reason why Leipzig are on 0 points. They have had the fixture list from hell. That doesn't take away from the fact they're a good team. I think they're a better team than Bruges. I think on the night we were fantastic, and I think we were right to go into the Bruges game, regardless of the result they got against Villa and whatnot. I think we were right to have a bit of confidence about it. Why not be confident after that fantastic performance? In the end, we didn't really perform on the night. We came away with a point, but it leaves us in a strong position, Liam.
It does, and it was disappointing because they didn't look overly threatening. They had a couple of near misses and that, but it wasn't for good play. It was because we fucked up in our own area. We got lucky away for that being offside as well. I think we dodged a bullet there. So, I'm disappointed at the performance because it shows that we still don't have that mentality to play big European games yet at home. So what happened? How did the bottle crash? How were the instructions not followed? Did they just do a better job of managing their midfield? And again, I seen Bhoys and Mark talk last night, and him and Terry. I listened to the other ones, and we've talked about Engels and Hitachi and that as well. And I thought he's right. What I didn't like was Brendan's comments that he made today. I thought, honestly, I think you need to bin that pattern. See that thing, like, some people obviously haven't learned. Okay, so what's the learning curve here? Because I'm one of them that's struggling, Brendan, because it's no about, like, you're going to prove to me that he's a better player with time by playing him through a time when he's not playing well. That makes no sense to me. So if you know he's going to be a great player, and you know that, but he's struggling right now, why are you not playing Bernardo? Do you not think Bernardo has the same potential? Or do you, if you put all your bets now on Engels in that position, that Bernardo somehow has to do something different, I don't know, in training or whatever it is, to get that opportunity? And I know, I thought Brendan was being cute with that, and I don't like that cute part. I'd like to ask Brendan again, enlighten me again. What's the lesson I'm learning for playing Greg Taylor?
There it is. Sound the alarm. Graham Tyrrell's in the chat. Sound the alarm. You've got to. There's the first mention of the night.
It was a lot of talk in the group chat and some of the stuff that I've been looking at, and I was amazed that the buses managed to avoid that. I'm going, oh shit, this they're saving that for me, Somebody tell me. Please tell me. What is it?
Well, the thing is, with that comment that Brendan's made,
what have I not?
The way I'm looking at it though is there's a difference between saying, like, using Bernardo and Kuhn as examples, who were signed, for, 3 million for us is still quite a big outlay, 2.5, 3 million. But when you spend 11 million on a player and then to say, give it a year, it's like, it's a bit of a difference. But I will stay consistent on this. I've said a few times now, I still think that, Engels will be fine. I don't think he's been as bad as many seem to be pointing the finger at. I think there's another midfielder on Wednesday night who had a real shocker other than one shot that zipped past the post early in the second half. Hatate was all over the gaff, but I thought Mark was a bit two-footed on him last night, to be honest, because you got to remember Hatate was actually excellent against Leipzig a few weeks ago. I mean, the majority of the team were excellent against Leipzig. I thought Hatate was fantastic against them. So it's just we know how good Hatate can be. There's a bit of frustration there when it seems to come out in little spells now compared to when he was obviously, initially first came in and he hit the ground running. But yeah, I'm still consistent regarding Engels, so I think he'll be fine over the course of the season. It's just going through a bit of a rough patch just now. Genuinely, I do. See, the whole team, they're a bit misfiring. The midfield were just all over the place at times. We talk about the way they pressed us. I mean, when you look at the goal we conceded, the last two goals that Bruges have scored in the Champions League, one was a comical penalty where Tyrone Mings had a total brain fart for Aston Villa and picked the ball up when he didn't realise the ball was in play. And then they get a comical own goal. And I know Carter Vickers, obviously, he's the one that's played into the net, but you actually look at the chain of events, Liam. Obviously, Kuhn's running back to goal because he's getting pressed. Schmeichel makes a very subtle move to the right-hand side, trying to create an angle for Kuhn, and he kind of second guesses himself, and Kuhn decides, no, passes it back to Carter Vickers, who's not looking behind him, doesn't know Schmeichel's made that move, turns and passes it right into the net. But from where I was sitting in the stadium, it was like watching a car crash in slow motion as the ball trundled towards the corner. And I've watched the replays and obviously seen it at full speed and was like, that went a lot faster than I thought, because I see generally the stadium, it felt like it went in slow motion. Like you could just see the horror escalating in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, it was a whole comedy of errors, and I know Carter Vickers' name will go against the obviously the one that scored it, but I feel sorry for him, and I think a few people need to take a bit of the blame there, Liam, for that one.
Well, the fact that ball was actually at the halfway line at one point. I mean, in the speed which Nicholas Kuhn was running back with that ball because he was pressed, I don't know. I think we've got, especially in that game there, we just got so complacent with the back pass that there was very few times that ball was going forward. And I thought that was really frustrating. And I don't know how he couldn't have played that ball somewhere else other than right back, like that channel. Honestly, it looked like he was attacking our goal, the way he was running. Yeah. It was he didn't have any of that angle that you think he was going to turn and get out of it at any point. So, yeah, I don't know. That was an odd one for me. And I thought that happened as well. And, all that started for a pass back as well, too, for the other side. We had that as well. That ball came out and went to Taylor, and then it ended up just coming back again. No vision, didn't even look, nothing, just pinball, boom.
Yeah.
So you bumper.
Well, I've got a few points coming in already about the midfield situation. This is actually a good comment. This username always makes me laugh. Your Maw, not really your Maw, but your Maw does say, granted Rio was poor Wednesday. We were ranked last season until he came back in March. That's actually very true. That's something that I've said before. My biggest concern when he was coming back was so far up to that point, when he had played, he hadn't really found his form under Brendan. So you were wondering, will it actually click under Brendan? I remember he came back against Livingston at Almondvale. And I hate when we play Livingston at Almondvale. It's just a horrible place. And, you're worried a boy with a bit of a checkered injury record that season coming back on a plastic pitch. But he was brilliant in that game. And he was one of the main reasons. Him and Carter Vickers coming back about the same time were crucial to us winning the double last season. And he says it's no coincidence that we play better with him in the team. Yeah, when he's on form. Again, I had to say, we know how good Hatate can be. We totally know how good he can be. But you say Wednesday night, he was a bit off of it. But again, to counteract that, a few weeks ago in Leipzig, thought he was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Thought he played well against Hearts at the weekend. In the second half, I thought he was playing well. So another point, though, that your Moyes made, and I go out the midfield, he says, I don't think we can persist with Kalmak as the number 6, so a deep lying midfielder. Maybe swap him and Engels. Now, I've heard people saying who've watched the Bundesliga and watched Engels before that apparently he did play a lot more defensive midfield when he played for Augsburg. And another factor as well, Liam, that you've got to look at regarding the Engels situation is he's came from a team in the Bundesliga who are like a bottom end sort of mid-table team. Augsburg aren't exactly a top end Bundesliga team. So probably a lot of games for them, they were basically behind the ball a lot of the time. Now he's at a team where we're expected to be on the front foot for majority of the games. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he's getting caught in possession quite a lot, just trying to adapt to that quickness that he needs. Because I say, and where he was playing in Germany, you know, it's a lot more of them. They would have been sitting behind the ball, trying to, you know, defend, playing teams like Bayern Munich and stuff like that. Augsburg are definitely not the favourite in those games against Dortmund and whatnot. So perhaps there was an element of that going on with him there. But let's say there has been people who have said that he is more of a natural defensive midfielder, which if that's true, then why isn't Brendan, you know, utilising that? Because I think McGregor's always better a bit further forward and being a bit more box to box. Granted, we know that he's reaching a point in his career where the legs might start to go a wee bit. He is getting a few more injuries these days. Has he got the energy to be more box to box? So it could be something to do with that. What are you feeling on that one, Liam?
I think you could be right there. Callum looks like one of the, anybody's played football, Callum looks like one of the guys in his 30s that plays in your team with a knee brace that was probably a really, really good player. He just doesn't look as big and agile that if you did put him up front, he could play any sort of pressing game whatsoever. You know, he wouldn't be doing that. I mean, the big question, I had this before in another podcast we did, Phil, was, are we allowed to replace Callum? I mean, he's such a significant part of the team, the way Rodgers has built everything around him, that when he goes into these slumps, we can't replace him. We had that same problem with Scott Brown. And I think we keep getting ourselves into these sort of things where we make, you know, like your Scottish players, your captain, and your, you know, and you know, it's even for the quote of, you know, homegrown and all that, to the identity of the club and how the dressing room works and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, my only problem is it's like, there's a part for that in the culture of the club, but it makes somebody droppable. And as soon as you got somebody that's undroppable, I think the whole temperament of the team drops to a level as well where, you know, you lose some of that. And I'm not saying that's what happened with Callum right now, but I mean, there's got to be some meritocracy in this team as well. Where how do you play yourself into this team? Whereas like Bernardo, Valle, you know, Trusty Scales. I mean, we've seen this before. How do you play yourself into this team where what looks like the fans is you're not delivering on merit? You know, and this whole that you must see something in training that we don't. You know, good training doesn't get you points. Gets you abs. That's about it, you know.
It does do that. It does. Now, here's a Henrik McLaughlin making another point on regards to that succession planning for aging players. Aren't our forte. It's a fair point. I mean, Celtic and sentimentality, Liam, never. Celtic doing sentimentality. Yeah, we've said this before on this channel, you know, about the sentimentality. You know, it's time to be ruthless. If a player's not in form, you know, they might need to do. They've been sat out. You know, Mark was pushing it last night about Engels, just saying take him out of the firing line for the time being, take him out of give him a few weeks on the bench and bring him on as a sub. You know, he clearly needs some kind of reset. You know, we need to be a bit more ruthless in these things. But say regarding Engels, I'm still under the impression he'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. But I get your point as well, Liam. You know, the whole, you know, be patient and all the way Brendan's putting that across. It's a bit different though when you do spend 11 million on a player compared to somebody like, you know, Nicholas Kuhn or Bernardo, who would have probably been seen as the old project player that we always talk about when they come in. So you can sort of, you know, think about you can excuse them for a bit of development. But yeah, when you come in for 11 million and become a record signing, it's pretty much nailed on that you're going to be playing week in, week out. But yeah, they say right now, English, I just think it's just a wee dipping for him. And there was a comment earlier on saying we've got to remember when he first came in as well, after the first few weeks, we were all waxing lyrical about him and whatnot, in terms of playing. He did come in and he looked a real class player. So it's clearly there. He's just going through a bit of a dip just now. But let's talk about another story that broke last night, and also it ties into something that's been going on in the team. Yes, we're going to go there. I know Graham Tyrrell's already sounded the klaxon. It's time to sound it again. But last night, actually during the TNF, while the TNF was on, there was a breaking news story. I did put it in the live chat, and you did as well. Both of us did, and it got completely ignored, so we'll talk about it. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories going around that Alex Valier hasn't been featuring because apparently he's going back to Barcelona, or he's told the club that he wants to go back to Barcelona, and this whole rumour about them wanting them back because they've got a bit of an emergency at left fullback. And just for context, Barcelona are a team who a few years ago, after the January transfer window had closed, they'd had a striker crisis, and La Liga allowed them to sign a player from another La Liga team outside of the window. I believe they signed Martin Braithwaite, the Danish international striker from Getafe, I want to say, because they met his release clause, even though it was outside of the window. And then they didn't even allow Getafe to sign a replacement for him, but Barcelona got away with it. So I think if Barcelona had an injury crisis, given the precedent's been set in a position, they'd probably get away with signing something outside a window. I didn't really think there was much substance to the Alex Valier thing. And I didn't buy into that's the reason why he's been frozen out. Greg Taylor's just found his way back in, but I don't know why, because I think Alex Valier's shown he's been pretty good. But yeah, last night, obviously, we did get the story. Barcelona have said that he will not be coming back. That was all just, pie in the sky stuff, really. So he will be continuing with Celtic until the end of the season. And I think now's the time to, get him into that team, get him settled in, because again, we're still in the same position with Valier. He will be able to leave at the end of this season because Barca made him sign a year extension purely because they wanted to get a transfer fee for him next summer. The last we heard was it might be about 3 million. They might push the value up a little bit, but hey, we spent 11 million on a player in the last summer window, so it's not outside the possibility if they pushed it up to like 5 million. I think he needs to get a run in the squad. I think if Brendan, can see that this boy could have a future here, then you've got to start phasing him in now, because our current left back, again, another week has passed. The contract still hasn't been signed. We don't know if he's even been offered, to be honest. But it looks like Greg Taylor's probably for the off. But yeah, Alex Valier comes on, and within 60 seconds, plays a nice wee pass into Tyson Maeda on the attack, getting up that left wing. And Tyson Maeda scored right away. It was quite a poetic moment. I thought it was quite appropriate that Alex Valier comes on out the cold, Liam, and he's involved right away by assisting in that goal. And that's another one. In fact, that's a few assists he's got now when you actually think about it. But for me, I think we need to be looking at getting Valier a lot more game time going forward if he's definitely staying here for the rest of the season, Liam. It's a no-brainer for me. I
think it should be a no-brainer for everybody except Brendan. Don't know what Brendan sees in him. Surprised Barcelona haven't went in for him then. If he's a much better left back than Valier, according to Brendan, maybe Barcelona should have come in for Greg Taylor.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Barcelona have got a left back crisis, then hey, here's one right here. Take him.
But he's international. Bite the hand, take the hand off. I like what Valier offers, and again, it's like, I don't like what Greg Taylor offers. I don't like that pass back without even at the point where you're not even looking up. It's just going straight back to him. Now, anybody that watched the game, you saw that one at least 5, 6 times. Ball goes to Taylor. He's hugging the touchline. I don't see that same on the other side. And I don't know if that's how our strategy, because if that's part of our tactics, shite. It's stupid, because when he's out there, he can't get past anybody. And so anytime he does try to make one of those passes, a lot of the times it gets intercepted, blocked, and that. this running in behind players as well, I think it really upsets the rhythm of the team. The amount of times I'm seeing Hatate, McGregor, and everything, they're the ones rushing back. And then I'm seeing Taylor coming into my screen at the end of it because he's done some diagonal loopy run that nobody's even chasing because he's not even look. He's Billy Wiz. He's got the heat doing. Not even looking. The amount of times he runs and curls in behind players to take the pass away. That's the one that really bothers me. The thing that infuriates me the most. And I saw it round about the 12-minute, 13-minute mark of the game. I don't know who he was going after see that. Somebody said in the chat yesterday it was Trusty. So remember it was in the game. Like, he was raging. He was getting somebody belters. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Why should you be shouting like that to anybody in their team when, the amount of time that he checks it? I don't know. I'm shocked to hear that was the reason. That it makes no sense to me of why Rodgers would sit out Valley because he was leaving at the window when we all know Taylor's probably leaving as well. So I don't know what we owe this guy. I don't know what Celtic more they can do for him. If I look at it, I think that's a boy that's been absolutely blessed with the luckiest career in Scottish football. He managed to ascend to a Scottish international by just sort of like not being better everybody, but just being sort of more easily to get into the coachable or something. Like the worst of, like, how do you get that level in your career by being the worst of a bad lot? He's not as bad as him. He's not as bad as that. It's like, because we not really went out and tried to replace him with anybody of real value or give anybody of value a real chance. I think, like Bernardo, I think the more you play a player like Valley, I think he'll get good. And that doesn't work, it's the Ingles thing. If he's playing bad, yeah, by all means, stop that and take him back into training and then, reintroduce him later on where you feel you've developed something, what the deficiencies are in his game. But everything that I've seen from Valley, I like. Okay, so I think he's rapid. He seems to have a sense of movement and a bit of pace. And I'm not talking about in a sprint. He's able to move 3 and 4 yards diagonal and sideways really quick. And that's very important when you're defending like that. So he's good at moving like that. He seems to be pretty good in the air. He's winning a lot of his battles. I've seen him beat men now, which I think is great. And we're seeing him now where he's coming in and he's delivering balls within the 18-yard line. And he's done that a couple. He's got a few assists now. And I thought his vision on the overlap, I thought, that was the first time I really think we had done that all game. And as soon as we did it, and I don't think we're talking enough about Diaz and Maeda's goal. What? Absolutely. Come on, that might be goal of the week. I mean, I know we were all down because of the way we conceded that goal, but what a goal. That was beautiful. He's got some highlight reel between the ones off the post at his face and then coming back a week later. How is that the same player?
The thing is, him and Valley, I think, have had a good, sort of partnership on the left-hand side when the two of them have played together. So it's no coincidence that Valley is on 60 seconds and is involved in the build-up. But that goal, I think I've asked this before about Dyson Maeda. What foot is his strongest? Is it his left foot? I think he's left-footed, doesn't he? Or is he just whatever he wants to be? He's Dyson Maeda. He does whatever he wants, let's be honest. But where I sit in the stadium in the Lord Jockstein stand, obviously the goal was down at that end, and he cuts inside, does that wee chop on the ball, and when he hits it, it's one of those things where, it's like a game of tennis where your head follows the ball. So obviously you're looking at Maeda on the ball. And when he hits it, you just follow the line of the ball and you just seen it kiss the post on the way in. Absolute scenes, man. Just bedlam in the stadium. So up to that point, we hadn't had much to shout about, to be honest. It'd been a pretty dismal performance. Granted, we did pick up a bit in the second half. But Well, yeah, you're right. Goal of the week, it could be. I mean, I've not seen all the goals scored in the Champions League this week, but that's got to be up there. That was a fantastic strike. And I did see some people though, because again, it's typical Dice Maida saying he was probably trying to pass it back to me and do typical Maeda stuff. Giggy actually falls as he hits it, which again is just vintage Maeda, isn't it? You know, there's always something a bit funny about every goal he scores, but that's a fantastic finish. And yeah, I just felt like, when that goal went in, how good it was as well, and how it lifted the crowd and just got everybody up for it, you just felt like we're going to push on here. So it was a bit disappointing that, that we didn't capitalise. But I say, in the grand scheme of things now, when you look at it, it's no left us in a bad position, to be honest. It really hasn't. So yeah, we're in a strong position European wise. So yeah, it's can't really complain too much. I will add this though, just going back to the left back situation. So the username, My Ball. So we've had your Maw and My Ball. My Ball has said there's no reason for Greg Taylor to be hurried regarding his contract. He shouldn't be criticised for it either. Well, I've said a few times, if Greg Taylor wants to leave because he feels that he's achieved everything, which, my God, he certainly has achieved a lot, I've got no problems with that at all. I'm saying fair enough, man. I mean, if he wants to go and try his hand somewhere else, I don't think there's any hard feelings at all. But to say that there's no reason for Greg Taylor to be hurried, the Celtic board might disagree on that one. Who was the last player that we allowed to go down to the last 6 months and then sign a pre-contract and then stay for the rest of that season? I think Celtic, if he doesn't sign a deal, I think they will try and get something for him in January, because the Celtic board don't tend to do that. David Turnbull was the last player they were allowed to get down to 6 months to go, and then we sold him for whatever we could to win 2 Januaries ago. We don't tend to do that. I say Joe Ledley, it happened to him quite infamously back in 2014, where he was literally training and he got pulled into a meeting with Neil Lennon and Peter Lawwell and just got told, you're going to Crystal Palace, whether you like it or not. He hadn't signed a new deal, whatever reason they'd stalled on it. And we just took whatever we could get for him, which was about 300,000 when you think about how good Joe Ledley was as well. But hey, that's the nature of the beast. I just can't imagine the Celtic board, with the way that they operate, allowing a player who, Greg Taylor, I know, Liam, as much as you strongly dislike Greg Taylor, there is money to be made there. There is money. They can still get value for him. Something back. I can't see them letting them go for nothing. I just can't.
Rip off the Americans. I mean, the MLS will pay you half decent money. I mean, we got 11 million for Abada for an MLS team. That shocked me. I thought they were skint. Well, I mean, I remember what their wages used to be like, and the new guys that played with them in that year, and it's but now it's like, Jesus, they're all in proper wedge now, all these players. So aye, they've got money. So let's see, because I don't know who seriously thinks going to come in for him. I don't think he's got that. I mean, he's still young, but yeah, upper
end of the English Championship maybe, or I say lower end Premier League, but I think realistically, I would try and Wrexham. Well, Wrexham. They're a Hollywood team these days, aren't they, with what's going on at Wrexham? I can see upper end of the Championship.
Yeah. We've got Deadpool. They might as well have a Muppet.
NMC and Ayr United. God Almighty, could you imagine that? And of course, Phil the Glove is saying you've been trying to manifest this, Liam. I think secretly you've been kind of wanting this to happen. Greg Taylor to join Armstrong and Gold at Vancouver Whitecaps. Yeah, we mentioned this like every week now. It's like, oh no. Oh, there's Henrik with glasses and Greg's off to Saudi to get that sweet coin. He's away to get that blood money. Yeah, well, we'll see. But I just cannot see the Celtic board allowing a player to get down to 6 months, sign a pre-contract, and then if he stays for another 6 months, he's not going to be here next season. What does Brendan Rodgers do then? Does he keep playing him for the rest of the 6 months? Does he, just freeze him out because he's not going to be here next season? And if Vallier is going to be here next season, then surely you would,
we've still got Burnaby right now, Phil, that by all accounts is tearing it up in South America. I mean, we could pretty well have an Argentinian international coming back with Burnaby if he keeps. I mean, supposedly Brazil was inquiring if he was Brazilian, but no.
To be fair, the Brazilian national team are actually horrendous right now, man. So you could probably get a game. You could change nationality and get a game for them, I think, at this rate.
Maybe Greg Taylor's got some Brazilian blood. You'll get swap like Diego Costa or whatever.
Well, let's talk about our fullback, Alistair Johnson. Obviously, freshly minted contract, Alistair Johnson. he's been nominated for an award. He's been nominated for the, I'll read this out here because I've got it on the other screen, the FIFA Men's 11 Best Defenders 2024. So he's in with very, and I say that's esteemed company. We're talking about guys like Ruben Diaz, Alessandro Bastoni, Alphonso Davies, another Canadian, Hakimi, Hummels, Laporte, Jonathan Tah, Anthony Rudiger, William Saliba, Grimaldo, Danny Carvajal, Jeremy Frimpong is in there as well. Manuel Akanji. Yeah, there is quite a list. And to be fair, looking at the graphic that FIFA have posted, all the players are in the international kits. So I think it's more for what they've achieved internationally this year in 2024, because obviously there was a Copa America and there was a European Championship. So it's obviously more for that. But he's been outstanding, I think, for us this season in terms of like domestically. But it's good to still see him getting some kind of recognition. I don't think he's going to be winning that, I'll be honest. Look at who's in there. It is interesting though to see Jeremy Frimpong in there, former Celtic player, and as I said, a fellow Canadian international, Alphonso Davies, Canada. Liam, a team on the up, a team to keep an eye on.
You're probably looking at the two guys that could probably win that award. Well, I don't know if it's for international football. Frimpong's played as well against for Holland. Although when he played against Canada, he absolutely terrorised Alphonso Davies. Absolutely. Frimpong was on form that night, and I think he was playing more like a wing back that night, and he was brilliant. Yeah. You know what? Good to see him getting recognised. Just as I said at the beginning of the night, where you can see now there's Canadians that are taking an interest in the game because of him. You know, good on him. Is it merited? Oh, I don't know. I've seen him have some howlers for Canada. His last game for Canada wasn't very good. But he had a very, very good Gold Cup with Canada. And at that point, I think he showed a lot of leadership. And I think he had a lot of aggression, and which was a very, very physical tournament. That was like, they were saying, that was the South American, that Gold Cup, that was really physical. Lots of fights and all that, and I think got head-butted at one time and all that. And I think that sort of physicality, I think when you're in a battle, that's what I like seeing guys like Johnson on your team. You know, if it's just off finesse and stuff like that, and he's too comfortable, you know, I think he gets sloppy and he gets complacent. But if you've got him in a fight, if you've managed to anger him or get him in a way, then I think that heightens his gaming. It's a boy that's grown up playing hockey as well too. So you've always got that. Hockey's got an added aggression to it because you can fight and hit and all that. And so I like that in him, and I like that, and that's what I always like playing with big Canadian boys that played in your football team as well. It's like any fights of that going, they were always the first to come in and help you out, you know.
They've got that dog in them. That's why they've got the fighting dog in them. Now, last week when we were on, we had a viewer come in, and I said to you at the time about that, Liam, you're now not the only Canadian on this bus. So Tony Henderson is back, and he's now become a member as well, I've spotted, and he's asking you a question. Does Liam follow any other North American sports that's moving away? I think you've mentioned hockey before, haven't you? Ice hockey? I mean, you're living in Canada. Surely, I mean, it's like a religion there, ice hockey.
Go Leafs, go. I'm a Toronto Maple fan.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Who were originally called the Toronto St. Patrick's.
Okay.
And I had the green and white anniversary shirt where it was like old Maple Leaf one with a string collar and it said St. Patrick's doing it, and gave it to a really good friend of mine because he said, oh, it'd be great to wear at the Celtic games in the winter. So if you see a guy stoating about with a Toronto St. Patrick's shirt, ask him if he knows Liam for Toronto.
No, I had a feeling, I remember you mentioned before about you liked a bit of the old ice hockey. I say, if you live in Canada, you've got to. It's an institution over there.
Mate, I played ice hockey for about 10 years. I learned when I was in my 30s, and I absolutely loved it. I'd played a lot of football inside hockey arenas before where they put the grass down. Mm-hmm. And so I knew the position and all that. And once I learned to skate, it was like, oh, okay, I could play defence here. And I absolutely loved it. There's been a few. One of my favourite hockey players was a guy named Steve Smith. And Steve Smith was born in Glasgow, moved to Canada when he was like 12 or 14. And by the time he was 18, he was a captain of the Canadian national team. And by the time he was like 22 of that, he'd already won a Stanley Cup with the Calgary Flames and then the Edmonton Oilers. And this is that came over for Glasgow and just learned how to skate. The other famous, well, it's not famous, the other hockey player that I know of that actually played for Celtic was actually not a bad hockey player when he was young. And he played when he was in St. Catharines. You know who that is?
No, huh? Charlie
Mulgrew.
Charlie Mulgrew?
Charlie,
okay.
Aye, when he lived in Niagara Falls, Canada. He moved there as a teenager and then moved back to Glasgow. He played hockey.
Right, okay. Nice one. So hockey's a sport as well where fighting's actively encouraged as well, I do believe. They do love a bit of the fisticuffs, don't they? You always see it in every match, throw the gloves off and start throwing punches at each other. So as I say, they've got that dog in them due to the Canadian the Canadian blood. But yes, we will talk about Ross County, I guess, for the last 20 minutes then, because yes, it's tomorrow. Domestic action is back. And Liam, as I said at the top of the show, we've been distracted by a lot of the big European stuff this week. But a lot's actually happened domestically, and Celtic haven't even had to kick a ball, because has the bubble burst at Pittodrie? Has it went and popped? Because in the last week, it's kind of went under the radar that we finally have a little crack of daylight between Celtic and Aberdeen. Again, I've said it a few times, I'm not worried about losing out in the title. I actually want Aberdeen to kind of fall away, and for Rangers to stay as far away as possible. Keep them at arm's length, because I like us to just cruise to the title. I mean, I know people are saying it's great for Scottish football, and as David Logue said on a Tuesday Ticket a couple of weeks ago, let's be honest, a lot of people are enjoying it just because it's seeing Rangers stuck down in third place and Aberdeen are kind of wedged in between us right now. But yeah, I just want both Aberdeen and Rangers to be as far away from us as possible. But yes, there's finally a little crack of light, because they lost to St Mirren last week and they drew with Hibernian. They Hibsed it against Hibs. The irony of it all, they scored, I think in the last 5 minutes of the game. In stoppage time, there was like 3 goals. Was it like Aberdeen scored 2 and Hibs scored 1 or something like that? But it was a mad ending to the game. Aberdeen go 3-2 up, and then Hibs got the park and equalised, a 3-3 draw. It's now put us in a position where we've played a game less and Aberdeen are 2 points behind us. So this weekend, we have now got a chance to, obviously, if we win tomorrow, put ourselves 5 points in front, because both Aberdeen and Rangers do not play until Sunday, because Aberdeen are playing at Tynecastle against Hearts. Hearts played last night in the Europa Conference League, and Rangers obviously played last night in the Europa League. So yeah, the two in the chasing pack do not play till Sunday. For once, I know Patrick McLaughlin always likes to talk about this in the chat about how the fixture list always seems to be that we always seem to be playing on Sundays, and the title rivals always get the upper hand, but both of our title rivals are now playing on Sunday. So we've actually got a wee chance here to get a wee bit of daylight and put some pressure on them and see what they're made of, Liam.
I think that's I'm looking forward to a Saturday morning game. 7 o'clock for me as well, so that's not a bad one. Yeah, the thing about Aberdeen, I sort of sensed Aberdeen was going to fall away. I'm glad they still. I thought they would have done it at the Rangers game, but that's where it looked. But when I seen them playing against us and that, I don't know, they didn't impress me. They look like they're bullying a lot of teams with their back line, and I think those guys get figured out over time. Once you play them once, a second time, like the time like Landon Dykes, battered Big Julian and stuff like that. Only happened the first game. Then you climatise for that sort of stuff, right? You're in a battle, so you start gaining a wee bit more. I'm just happy to see us playing before them, because I think it puts all the pressure on them, and they don't respond well to pressure. Anytime it seems to be there's an opportunity for them to pull away and not to, those are the weekends where they lose points. So who are they playing this weekend?
Rangers are playing St Johnstone at McDermott. I say Aberdeen are playing Hearts at Tynecastle, both on the Sunday, and I say we've got our game on the Saturday.
If Hearts beat them, I think that's the Aberdeen slide. That means anybody, if the 2 bottom teams in the league can take points off you, your bubble might have burst.
Yeah, we'd like to find. As I say, for me personally, I just want us to have a nice cruise to the title. I thoroughly enjoyed Brendan's first 2 seasons in charge, where we were off in the distance by like halfway through the season. So yeah, I kind of would like them. They two can go and fight for second place. Let us just head off into the distance. But yeah, say some interesting developments over the last week. But obviously the team tomorrow, a few interesting things to look at in terms of team choice. So in terms of the defence, say the centre backs, let's look there because Liam Scales, Trusty, Carter Vickers, I've said before, I think the way the three of them are playing, I think we've got some good options now. It's good to have like 3 half decent centre backs you can rely upon. With Carter Vickers, obviously he is, I think he's got to be sort of wrapped up in cotton wool a lot these days with his injury problems. If it is Scales and Trusty, the start tomorrow, I mean, that would be 3 games in 8 days or something for Carter Vickers. And then we've got Aberdeen again coming up on Wednesday night. So we've got another midweek game. Do you think maybe Carter Vickers will be giving this one a miss? It'll be Trusty and Scales at centre back, Liam.
Oh, you never know. I mean, every now and again we see the appearance of Stephen Walsh at the Blue. You know?
Yeah, don't even try and will that into existence.
Brendan's an odd one when it comes to that sort of stuff. So, does it look like we're sitting Carter Vickers out because of that goal? Is that, Or,
that's a good point, actually. The optics of it now, I say we would know that, it's because of his checkered injuries, but media would try and spin it. There would be some people who've done a bit of mischief in the media that would try and, there's a rift in the Celtic dressing room,
Yeah, we do it with Tavernier, so why wouldn't they try to pull that one over on us? I'd like to see, he took Anthony Johnson off last week as well. I mean, something tells me he might not be fully fit either, right? There might be, maybe we might see Ralston again. I was surprised that Ralston came on the last,
Tynecastle last week, yeah.
Aye, rather than Valley for Taylor. But yeah, I think he has to change it. I think he always, I think Scales has done nothing wrong. So I'd rather see, if it does happen, Trusty move over, Scales come back in. Don't really think there's anything Stephen Walsh can offer us. No. And then Nadoki, he's just at the game altogether, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what he's another one we should be looking to see if we can shift him at Christmas, because that's no fair to the boy. And in fact, I had so much hope for him as well. I thought, League of Warsaw, that was they played European football and stuff, and he was getting a game for them, and don't know how he could adapt to their football.
Well, he was one of the ones last summer where when we looked at not last summer, obviously the one that's passed, the one when Brendan came back, where we looked at the signings, and there was a few where we pointed at it and went, that's not a Brendan signing, Yang and Kwon and stuff like that. You're kind of like, that's a Ange legacy signing. These are players we identified when Ange was the manager. You just can't imagine Brendan signing off those. But then the Vrotsky one was interesting because a couple of years before, Leicester had got to the semi-finals of the Conference League, and along the way they'd played Legia Warsaw, and the Vrotsky had played in those games. So you thought maybe that's got to be the connection, that Brendan has seen this guy and has kept tabs on him since then. So he was one of the ones I had high hopes for as well, and he is so far off it. I mean, even Tuesday there, we were talking about, Regan brought him up and said that Polish guy, as he called him, and it was like, yeah, you forget that he's there, he is still there, and every so often you'll see like the match day squad, and Stephen Welsh is getting in ahead of the Vrotsky, even in match day squads and stuff like that on the bench. So yeah, he's a write off these days. He definitely is. But people in the chat are coming in and agreeing about it could be a bad message if CCV doesn't play. I'm just thinking from his injury point of view, and too many games, especially with Pittodrie coming up, and this is going to be a humdinger next Wednesday up at Pittodrie. We have to go up there and make a statement and put them in their place. But I can see why people would be concerned at the message that might send, even though that isn't the message, but people outside of the Celtic bubble will find a way to misconstrue that.
Yeah. I see this as an opportunity for Brendan to freshen up a bit, right? So we playing this game at home, right? Or are we away?
We are home. We're at Celtic Park tomorrow.
So,
3 o'clock on a Saturday. Love it.
So I think the defence settled. I mean, obviously, I want to see Valley in for Taylor. You know, come on, please, just stay it. Make everybody happy. And then I think the biggest question, I think, is around the midfield right now. The midfield right now, I think, do you look at what you said earlier as drop Callum McGregor? Dropping Callum McGregor would send a message. It would send a message as well, but also as well, we've talked about him. You know, he's quite the international scene. He, you know, he's got that look where he's sort of lumbersome these days, right? He's had injuries in the past before. Again, I don't know. Is there a way to do that without upsetting the dynamic and the culture within the dressing room and that? Because you know what? I would like to see what Ingles can do in the middle of the park as a defensive mid, or can Luke McCowan play that role? You know, who's the understudy for Callum McGregor? And if that's the point, let's see if we can count this guy to give us a game. If it's Ingles or it's McCowan, all right. And if it doesn't work, all right, put him back on. We should be able to overpower Ross County. You know?
Yeah, we should. I mean, to be honest with the way things went on Wednesday, I mean, I think McGregor, again, just being the captain, will get a start. But Hatate and Engels dropping out for McCown and Bernardo's not a bad shout. Again, we should be able to overpower Ross County. I think Luke McCown has done absolutely nothing wrong in every display he's had so far. He's proved that he isn't just a fan that's got lucky. He's proved he belongs. You know, he's proved people wrong who I've put my hand up and admitted it on here when his name was first pitched back in the summer when we were talking about links to Celtic. I was just kind of like, whatever, you know, I'm not that overly enamoured by it. And even when he did sign, I was like, get his wee games here and there. But I think he's contributed massively when he's came on. He's looked lively. I don't think it's a stretch for him and Bernardo to come in and play with Wednesday in mind, because obviously this Aberdeen game is huge. We should be able to see off Ross County with McCown, Bernardo and McGregor playing. And I want to see more of Bernardo. I've just got such high hopes for him. I think last season he showed that where a run of games, because that was the thing that I think he suffered from last season, and why there was still a lot of fans that were still like, why are we chasing this guy? Why are we making such a big deal to try to sign him? See, Brendan sees him every day in training, so Brendan knows what he can do. But I did feel like if you give him a wee run of games, and we saw it at the new year, at the turn of the year 2023 and 2024, when he had about a month solid of games, and he was pretty lively against Dundee. Obviously scored against Rangers as well. He had a great night against Mirren at Love Street. Oh, well, whatever it's called nowadays in Paisley. And yeah, I was like, well, if he can just get a run, but Matt O'Reilly's form last season was so good that Bernardo just couldn't get that run. And again, he's came in this season, he's signed full time, and then Engels arrives, and then Engels seems to be getting a game. But I think Bernardo to come in, I think he needs a wee run of games. Again, every time he's played, with exception of the Dortmund game, and everybody was crap against Dortmund, let's be honest. I think, again, he's just a steady hand in the middle of the park. You know, he doesn't do anything too risky like that he can do from time to time. He's very much, you know, he always go for the sensible pass, and he's also got a bit of physicality to him as well. Something we talk about, Liam, in the midfield. You know, we need somebody who's a bit of a bruiser, you know, and he's got that to him, I think, as well, Liam.
I mean, this guy was scouted by Benfica, who seem to be going through another golden generation of, you know, young up-and-coming players, you know, through, you know, teams in the world right now. I don't think there's much a difference in age between him and Ingles. In fact, it might be the same age, or Bernardo might even be older.
Bernardo's a wee bit older because he's one of these ones like Edward, where he's playing for the Portuguese under 21s or something, or under 23s, but I think it's under 21s that he's playing for, but he's like not 21 anymore. Like how Edward was like in the French under 21s despite not being 21 anymore. So I think he's in that category. Somebody in the chat will come in and tell us exactly what age he is.
So, you know, I look at that he's got a upside as well. You know, we brought him in on loan, you know, and I looked at him as a replacement, you know, for Moy, I guess, you know, at that point, you know, when we brought him in. But now I look at him now and I see he's got every bit to his game as Matt O'Reilly did. He's maybe not scoring as many goals as O'Reilly, but O'Reilly never really hit the ground running until 6 months into his Celtic career to get his first goal. you know, and then he lit up. But that was after he'd had a number of games, and he'd also solidified his position in the middle of the park. I think what you're saying is absolutely correct in the fact that, yeah, he does need a chance. If he gets the run in the game, I think he starts to dominate. If he said, give him the same length of game time now that you've gave Ingles, you know, let him have one bad game. You know, how many bad games or just quiet games do we think Ingles has had now? That's about maybe what? That's about 5 on the bounce. Last game he played well was probably Leipzig.
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah,
you know. So okay, what if we give Bernardo the chance when we've been given when we've been giving him the cameos to come on and snatch a moment or a win or just just to get noticed out there. He's done it every single time. He's delivered. So there has to be a reward system within this team that rewards players for good performances. That when you take your chance and you get your opportunity, you take it. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing wasted opportunities when people don't take that opportunity and then fight for second, third chances even. But when you're starting Greg Taylor every week for no reason, that's it.
Well, a similar question to what I asked last week when we talked about team selection, because obviously this time last week we were gearing up to play Hearts. And I said, will Brendan pick the team with Bruges in mind? Because obviously that was the midweek game. This time, obviously, now, if you think back to the last time we played Aberdeen in the League Cup semi-final, we were playing Dundee on a midweek game, and we did field a few of the second stringers that night because it was Dundee at home, the greatest respect to them, much like Ross County. I mean, Ross County at 8th in the table, we should be seeing them off. Will Brendan do something similar, do you think? And maybe we'll see like a Yang starting instead of Kuhn or Maeda. And I think Palmer started that night against Dundee. He was terrible. I mean, he was terrible. Let's be honest. He was awful that night. And Palmer was in that category where I think he's became like Mikey Johnston, where everything he does, he can't do right for wrong. It's a shame for the guy, but he just was way off it. But he might be looking at this game tomorrow and going, I should be able to put a few of the second string in there and we'll beat Ross County because obviously this Aberdeen game on Wednesday night is looming. And as much as us fans, we always look forward and the players and the manager always couldn't say the right thing and be like, oh, no, we're taking it one game at a time. It's going to be, Brendan's going to definitely be looking at that one because Brendan will want to prove a point. Aberdeen came and got a point at Celtic Park a month ago. Then we absolutely pistol whipped them in the League Cup semi-final. Brendan will be definitely, thinking about, I want to make sure we go up there and put them firmly in their place on their own territory this time.
The most expensive manager in Scottish football, probably of all time. You should be expected to put out a team at home full of internationals for Honduras and Korea and places like that to take on Ross County. This shouldn't be a second string. This just needs a bit of man management. You've asked for a squad. You've got the squad. Use it effectively. For just trying to hammer square pegs and round holes again. It doesn't work. We've got an expectation where we need to win every single game. And that has to be the mindset. It's 3 points. Doesn't matter if it's the beginning of the season or the end of the season, Ross County or Rangers. 3 points is what we want tomorrow. And and Roger is fully expected to deliver that against a Ross County team.
Yeah, definitely.
No matter who plays.
I say Celtic Park against a team that are sitting 8th in the table right now, then they shouldn't have no problem at all. So before we go, Liam, because it's come up to 59 minutes now, we've come up to the hour. So we'll do our usual predictions then. So Liam, will there be a bit of a European hangover? Will we come out all guns blazing and just absolutely do them? Will it be one of those stuffy games where we might need to wait a little while, but ultimately we'll get it done? How do you think it's going to play out?
I think the fact that we played that last game at home and you've got a home crowd as well, but it's a season ticket home crowd. I think you'll hear it a lot more from them if you do not start, if it doesn't look like you're on the front foot and we're ready to turn these over. these guys over. So I don't think we're going to have a tight game at all, because I don't think our fans are going to allow our team to get complacent and have a tight game with this mob. So, yeah, we should have every expectation of opening them up with our style of play and just getting shots on net. Shots on the target, play our width, get Valley coming down that wing, get that overlap going. All that stuff that we do, get Kyogo starting.
Yeah.
I'm expecting 4-5-0.
Aye, well, in the chat, there's a lot of big predictions coming. Graham Tyrrell says 5-0. Alan Mockwa says 4-0. Patrick McLaughlin says 7-0. Oh, Jesus, Patrick. Ooh. Spell the Glove says 3-1. NM says 3-0. Patrick McLaughlin also adds that we are angry. Yes, I guess we are. I guess the players are angry. Somebody else says, Ian McIntosh says it as well. Players seem angry. Look out, Ross County.
Aye.
Ominous warning there. I'll say it'll be 3-0. Ultimately, as long as we get the 3 points, that's all I care about, because he puts the pressure on the chasing pack for Sunday. But yeah, I think we'll get the win. A wee early goal always helps in these fixtures. I've been to enough of these games since 2007. Going regularly to Celtic Park, where these teams come to Glasgow. They've got no ambition to play any football, and fair enough, I get it. That's they've got to play to their strengths. And they don't have as strong a team as Celtic, so they're going to sit with 10 men behind the ball. They're going to try and get a point, a stodgy 0-0 or something. But if you score an early goal, their whole plan just goes right out the window. So if Celtic could do that, that'd be great. And I'm pretty sure the last time we played Ross County at home, it was the one when Alistair Johnson scored after a minute, and that was the only goal of the game. That was the one just at the turn of the year where the crowd actually booed at full time because it was such a bad game. But in the end, all the wins count, and it was a massive one to help us win the title. But at the time, that game was terrible. Middle of January, freezing cold, 1-0 after 90 seconds. And then that's also the game when Palmer missed 2 penalties. He missed it, and then he got a retake. VAR gave him a reprieve, and then he missed again. Oh, no. Dreadful day. So, yeah, hopefully not a performance like that. Hopefully a nice, comfortable win. Put a bit of a show on. I imagine it's going to be pretty cold as well tomorrow. Give us something to cheer about Celtic. And yeah, as I say, 3-0 for me. And we get the points. And yeah, TNF, look out. Not TNF, sorry. PMP. Too many shows with 3-letter names around here. So yeah, look out for the PMP tomorrow evening. That'll be around. If you hit the subscribe button, folks, you'll of course see when it goes online. So just hit that bell notification as well to be reminded when we are on the road before you go, if you haven't done so yet. Of course, hit the like button as well on your way out. I would appreciate that massively. Me and Liam are now heading off into the ether. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, folks, whatever you do. Liam, enjoy the rest of your day, because you've got pretty much your whole day still ahead of you. And yeah, enjoy the game tomorrow, folks, wherever you watch it and however you watch it. And yeah, hopefully we'll be coming back to talk about another resounding Celtic victory, keeping us at, as Austin Edward once said, top of the table. Right, we'll catch you later, folks. See ya.